Now we're moving on to example number 2. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 8. And I'm just going to do it completing the square way so that we get as much practice as we possibly can with that. I'm going to go ahead and list that out again like that. Now remember, our first thing we want to do is get the 8 to the other side. It makes it easier if we do it this way. Now remember, the next thing we had to do is get our a value to be 1. It's already a 1 right there, so we don't have to factor anything out like we did before. So that makes it a little bit easier for this time. So now I'm going to go ahead and write in the blanks that we did before. So we have it set up. And now what we want to do is go ahead and take half of negative 6 is negative 3. And negative 3 squared is plus 9. So we've added 9 to this side of the equation, so we have to add 9 to the left side of the equation. So f of x plus 1, and when we do that there, move the f, get the 1 back on the other side, so the f of x is by itself. We have a minus 1, just like that. So now we can easily tell our h and k, our h value, remember that comes out the opposite sign, so that's 3, and the k value is negative 1. So that is our vertex, is 3, negative 1. And remember, the easiest way to figure out the axis of symmetry is just x equals the x value, because that's the line that cuts that parabola right in half. So if I come over here and graph that, 3, negative 1, if I wanted to graph the axis of symmetry, it'd be coming like something down right through there. Okay. Now the x-intercepts, remember, all we do is set it equal to 0. 0 is equal to x minus 3 squared minus 1. So we add 1. Take the square root of both sides. Remember, when we take the square root, a plus or minus always has to go. Square root of 1 is 1. Now this one is a little bit easier than that last one because you can actually figure out the square root. Before we couldn't, but now we can. So it's much easier. So when we add, get the 3 over there, we can actually come up with 2 nice whole numbers there. So 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. So we know it's going to cross at 2 and 4. And we can make sure that we be able to graph it right. Remember, our stretch is just 1, so we're not having to change it all. So we go over 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 squared is 1, so those are good. 2 squared is 1, 2, 3, 4. And backwards, same thing. And then we can graph our parabola there. Okay. Okay, now we're moving on to example number 3. Remember, at any point you can always pause the video and catch up if I'm going too fast, or rewind it, and so you can see something again. Now number 3, it's a little bit different from, like, say, the one we just did, because up here we had an x squared and an x. Now we just have an x squared. So there's no b value. So with those type of problems, it gets a lot easier because it's already in that vertex form. If I compare this to ax minus h squared plus k, I can already tell you my h is 0 because there's nothing in there with the x. And then the k value is 8. So that saved us a whole lot of time there. So 0, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 off the graph there. We know the axis of symmetry, of course, should be really easy at this point. X equals 0. Your x-intercepts, so just set it equal to 0. So subtract 8. Multiply by negative 2. And then take the square root. Remember, anytime you take the square root, it always has to be a plus or minus out in front. So x is equal to plus or minus 4. So you have plus and a minus 4. I just realized I forgot to add that up here too, didn't I? On example number 2. We didn't list those out, 4 and 2. Sorry about that. Coming back down here now. So we know it's going to cross at 1, 2, 3, -4, and 1, 2, 3, +4. Now let's make sure graphing it the way we've been doing it still works here. Our stretch this time is 1/2. And it's negative, so it's going down, obviously. So we normally go over 1, down 1, but that's going to be half of 1 is 1/2. Over 2, and 2 squared is 4. But instead of 4, we're only going to go down 2, because half of 4 is 2. So 1, 2. 3 squared is 9. Half of 9 is 4.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And we could do 4. 4 squared is 16. Half of 16 is 8. And that gets us right back down to where we were for the x and y intercept. And that's plenty of points there. And we can plop the graph in there. Something like that. Now we're moving on to the last page. It says write the equation of the parabola whose vertex is -411 and passes through the point -615. So let's start with that vertex form of the equation. Y is equal to a x minus h squared plus k. And we know the vertex, obviously we know that by now is h and k, right? So I can just plug that right in. Let's just keep everything else there. X minus and -4 would be a +4 and then plus 11. So the deal is here we have just another point. Okay. Now I know when I write my equation I need a number in for the a, the h, and the k. I've got the h and k taken care of, but I don't know the a. But I do know from our point that is the point x and y. So if I plug that in for the x and y, the only letter I'd have left is a. So let's do that. 15 is equal to a -6 plus 4 squared plus 11. That way we can solve it for a and then go back and plug just the a back in, so the a, h, and k are all in the equation. So that'd be, what was that, -2 squared is 4. So that's 4a equals 4, so a is equal to 1. So now my a value is equal to 1, and my h and k are those two, so let's write the equation. Y is equal to a, you can put the 1 there or not put it there, either way, x plus 4 squared plus 11. So if you want to write that, or you can just write it as without the 1, either way is fine. And finally we're getting to the last problem of this notes. Write the equation of the parabola whose vertex is in 2, 3 and passes through the point 0, 2. So very similar to what we just did. So again, I'm going to write down this vertex form of the parabola. We know this is our h k value again, so I'm going to take that and plug it right in. X minus 2 squared plus 3. And then, like we did before, to find the a value, you plug this in for your x and y. So 2 is equal to a 0 minus 2 squared plus 3. And of course, 0 minus 2 squared would be 4a plus 3 is equal to 2. Subtract your 3. So a is a -1/4. Okay. So all we do different now is plug that back in. Y is equal to a -1/4. X minus 2 squared plus 3. And there you have it for section 2.1.